chronic list maker who never finished my lists. I set new habits in motion every Monday, only to fail by Friday. It's not an exaggeration. The internet was always offering me new planners, new morning routines, new 15-day challenges. And after 35 years, I still wasn't waking up early. I still wasn't working out consistently, still wasn't meal planning consistently. I just wasn't able to follow through on the things that I set out to do each year. I really needed to stop with the challenges and the habit tracking and the lists for just a second and look at something that would finally bring me real, lasting discipline. The kind that doesn't feel stressful like, oh, if I relax, I'm going to fall off the bandwagon. I wanted to burn the bandwagon idea altogether and switch my way of thinking to something more sustainable, peaceful, that actually works. Hello, friends. Welcome to the Weekly Fellowship, the space that brings faith-filled women together to inspire and empower each other. I'm your host, Reagan Clement. I'm a life coach and the proud founder of the Rising Tide Fellowship. Today, our gathering is fueled by the belief that one of the best ways to support our God-given goals is to spend time among high-quality people, encouraging you, setting high standards, and making your struggles and your infinite growth feel normal. Brought to you by the Rising Tide Fellowship, we're more than just a community. We're a gathering of growth-minded women of faith engaging in group discussions, Bible studies, book clubs, and online courses. Our coaching collective, comprised of specialists catering to women in different seasons of life, supports and uplifts each member, guiding them toward peace, virtue, and fulfillment. I coach faith-filled women who know they are made for more than what their current reality is showing them. And I'm thrilled to be your guide on this journey toward a purposeful and joy-filled life. Weekly Fellowship is not just a podcast or a YouTube video, it's a space where we come together every Thursday at 12 p.m. Central for a live, interactive, podcast-style conversation. This is where we share insights for your life in an engaging format. And here's the best part. At the 30-minute mark, we invite you to bring your ideas, perspectives, and questions to the conversation. Your voice matters, and we truly value the connection that we are building here. Our first season, How We Became Disciplined Women, is a journey into transformation. In 10 episodes, we'll share the details of what finally transformed us from stressed out list makers into the peaceful women who can actually finally follow through. So whether you're joining us during your commute, your workout, or a quiet moment of reflection, thank you for being here. Subscribe now to Weekly Fellowship and become part of this incredible community. We are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. So welcome to a rising tide of incredible women. Okay, joining us today are 2 incredible coaches in their own areas of expertise, Jenny Krumdrick and Audye Gonzalez. Hi, ladies. Jenny Krumdrick is an expert at helping teens and young adults manage stress so they can thrive. She's a confidence coach, inspirational speaker, and retreat facilitator. Thanks for being here, Jenny.
You're so welcome. I'm so happy to be here.
Our second guest today is Audye Gonzalez. She is a wife and mom, entrepreneur with 12 years of business experience, life coach, and writer. We're glad you're here, Audye.
Thank you for having me.
So today's topic is on discipline. My question for you is, do you call yourself a disciplined person? What about in private? Could you look in the mirror, really look at yourself and believe that you are a woman of discipline? So when it comes to setting new goals, aspiring to do good things, I have my best intentions, but I really used to say things like, I want to read my Bible more. And I would pick out a new plan, maybe download an app, get my whole space ready, really like do things that would support my ability to read my Bible more. But then life happens. There's too much to do, not enough support. And those early years of toddlers was an extra challenge. So I would miss a few days and mentally I'm hearing things in my head like, You never follow through, Reagan. You just need to be more disciplined. And things like reading the Bible would actually help you be more disciplined if you would just stick it out. But there I was, stuck again, wanting to be able to follow through, but having failed again, not really sure if it's even possible. And I had the same story when it came to working out consistently, meal planning, house cleaning. Honestly, there was a lot on my plate and something was always falling off, which meant that I was quietly shaming myself for not getting it all done. That might sound like you. I bought all kinds of routines, meal plans, I did 10, 15, and even 75-day challenges to get better in certain areas, but nothing stuck. So I want to turn to our guest speakers now and ask you, Jenny, have you struggled with discipline like this over the years?
Absolutely. Yeah. I remember the season that it was the worst. I was a young mother, 2 kids under 4, and this was like a laundry war. And I just had this deep hatred for laundry. It would ruin my mood, and I did everything I could to just avoid it. It was such a vicious cycle. I would let it pile up, and I'd have a minimum of 5 loads to do every weekend, which meant I had at least 5 loads of laundry to fold. And the worst part was just putting it all away. I didn't put it away because I hated putting it away. Nobody wanted to put it away. So can you just imagine the state of the bedrooms where we had these piles of laundry and I couldn't even tell which piles were clean and which piles were dirty. It was just such a disaster. And I remember going to a friend's house and she said, she was like folding laundry real quick, like as I was talking to her. And I was like, where's all the clothes, you know? And she goes, oh, I just do 1 medium-sized load of laundry every day. And I remember thinking to myself, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. But it also seemed a little magical to me because she only had to fold and put away 1 medium-sized load of laundry, which was like less than 10 active minutes a day. So I thought about this and I was like, oh my gosh, I want to be like that. I want to be more like her. But I had this internal war and an external war of socks and towels. So weeks later, I told her what was going on in my life with the laundry. And I said, yeah, I just don't think I can be like you. And she said something that absolutely changed my life. She said, yes, you can. Jenny, you can do this. And so that was really the start of my journey to be able to manage the logistics of my household as a young mother with 2 toddlers, because it wasn't just the laundry, but it was all the things. And laundry was just the worst of it. So, in a nutshell, I recognized I had a problem. I was inspired that there could be some strategic solution. And I started to believe that I could because I had to borrow her belief in me. And then I just took baby steps to make progress. And so that is what started it all, my personal journey. I no longer war with laundry. Thank you, Jesus.
Thank you for sharing that, Jenny. I find it interesting to hear your perspective because it's all about the mental war, and you're literally like, I don't believe I can do it. And so you were switching that and someone helped you switch that. I don't know if that was my problem. Audie, what about you? How have you struggled with this?
Yeah, mine was kind of a little bit different. Growing up, and I know my mom's listening, but my mom was so, and she has this, things were always so perfect. It was like our house was in immaculate perfection. Like it was so beautiful all the time. We were clean. We didn't have laundry out all the time. When laundry was done, we did the laundry. There was just like she had her rhythm about, and those were her standards. And like she and I've talked about it since then. And I remember her saying that was just like it was a lot to uphold. It was a lot to do. But when I didn't know any other standard. And so as I like moved out, became an adult and everything, I fell short of that standard. What I told myself is I failed. Like I'm a failure because I'm not upholding this standard. Like it's not the floor is dirty, or there's a pile of laundry, or 2 piles of laundry on the couch, or the dishes have been in the sink. And so for me, the thought I had to overcome was like, you're a failure, you're a failure, you're a failure. And that one was tough. That struggle I think is one of the toughest struggles because I realized that I had like this um this standard set, and I didn't necessarily have the tools to change the standard. Like that standard worked for my mom, and like that's awesome. It worked for us as a family. But for me, in any other time in life, that's not necessarily the standard. Um, and so gosh, struggled from day to day. I would be so down on myself, like in looking back, like in reflection of the way my apartment looked, or how I'd been taking care of myself, or whatever. I realize, and it's kind of silly to look back at now that I'm able to take a step back and look. Um, but like this was okay. I just beat myself over the head because it wasn't this standard of perfection that I had like idolized.
Mm. So it's just so like each of your struggles is slightly different, and yours is like one. I mean, I know they're both mental, but I hear some mental challenges in Jenny's, and then a little bit different in Audie's, with the standard, with the view of what this season of my life is going to look like. So what's something that helps you pivot from like the stressed out kind of self-shaming to being more disciplined, Audie?
Definitely something that helped me pivot was stopping guilting myself. Just allowing the dishes to sit in the sink and thinking I'm not a horrible person. I'm not a failure for the dishes to be in the sink. Um, And that really gave me motivation to be able to set my own standards and to create my own ideal that I could follow through with, because I was able to say, whoa, like, wait a minute, like having a pile of laundry on the couch or leaving dishes in the sink or whatever it is, um, this doesn't mean I'm a failure. This doesn't mean I'm a horrible person. And like I remember I had to hit a wall when I had my little one, and like I'm staying up late, getting up in the middle of the night. Like it's tough. Like Jenny mentioned, like those two under four, like those when they're little, it's tough. And so I remember literally quite a few times where I had to choose to nap or do the dishes. And when I chose to nap those first few times, boy, did I guilt myself. I said, you were a failure. You should be able to do all of this on your own. And after I was finally able to, with the help of coaching and some mindset work, I was able to shift that, where it's like, what if you're napping to rest and rejuvenate yourself for your child so you can be the best mother that you can be? What if you need to rest right now so tomorrow you can do the dishes? What if you just rested right now? And maybe tomorrow you don't do the dishes, but maybe you rest again. It's just having that freedom, and looking at myself the way I think Jesus would look at me and give me that grace, I think is really what was the turning point for me.
Mm. That's so beautiful. And I think I hear you saying it doesn't make me a bad person whenever I leave something or the dishes are there or I choose to rest. But it also, I think still for women, the way we perceive the word discipline, we almost have to switch the word and say like rest. Like a disciplined woman would rest right now, or a disciplined woman would go ahead and get up and get the dishes done
Absolutely.
and then rest. Like depending on what the day looks like and what your moment looks like, sometimes to be disciplined is to do the thing that is most wise with the big perspective, right? Sometimes that's rest, sometimes it's work, sometimes it's play. And so that's just really beautiful insight. What about you, Jenny? How did you pivot?
I I pivoted by really identifying what area I wanted to make progress in, and that was started with the laundry. And then I just needed to decide on like what baby steps of progress can I make? And then to really celebrate my progress, because I'm a recovering perfectionist. And I realized long ago that striving for perfection wasn't going to serve me. So celebrating the progress, because there's no like instant growth, especially if you're looking at some type of growth in a marriage or in a relationship, whether it's with a family member or a child. Now it takes two to tango, and you can only change yourself. You can't change the other person. So I had to celebrate the progress rather than, oh, it's got to be done 100%, because that's the thing with laundry is you're literally maybe caught up for like 10 minutes and then you've got dirty laundry again. So rather than shaming or blaming or shoulding myself, to celebrate my progress, that's what helped me pivot.
That's beautiful. Okay, so let's both kind of switch a little bit. I think we're right there, but I want to switch a little bit into kind of specific a skill or a strategy that you used, or maybe that you're still using to help you with discipline. Audie, do you want to start?
Yeah, totally. I think um and I can use an analogy of basically like you're making dinner. And and for me, I had to have a vision of what I wanted my standards to look like. I realized that the standard I grew up with wasn't what I needed in the season. So if I just like started trying to figure something out or trying to rest and then not resting, going 100%, 10%, whatever, I had to create a standard, right? And so that is probably what changed things and what continues to help me change is the constant developing of my standard. So say you're trying to make a meal, right? And you know that you want dinner to be delicious and you want it to smell good and all these things, but you don't know what you want it to look like. But you throw in a strategy. You're like, okay, I'm gonna throw in some carrots or some beef or like, I don't know, we're gonna put chocolate in here. Chocolate's good, right? And we just mix all these things together. And at the end, we have a horrible, disgusting meal. It's full of good things, but it's a horrible, disgusting meal. It's not what we wanted. Um, and it's because we didn't specify specifically what we were looking for. So whenever we make that meal, whenever you create your standards, you have to know exactly what you're working toward. You have to have the you have to know what that dinner smells like. You have to know what you want it to taste like. You have to know what vegetables you want to go in the dinner. You have to know what meat, what no meat, soup, not a soup. Are we going to have bread? What is it? And that way knowing what you want, you can find or create a recipe that's going to get you the end result. So you're not adding in all the extra, you're not putting chocolate in a stew. You're not doing any of you're not doing the extra work that's not going to help you create the outcome. You're not beating yourself up over not doing something. You're saying, I have allowed myself time for rest and I'm going to rest. Or I have allowed myself time to do laundry and I'm going to do the laundry.
That's speaking to me because right now it's, the new year and everybody's doing these challenges and they're adding all these habits and it's driving me crazy. I follow this really amazing community and group. I really love them. I love what they do. They have hearts for Jesus. But they're doing this challenge right now it's like a 40-day challenge where they're asking all of their community members to do 10 habits. And so it's like this much water and this long walking and this much exercise and this much with your Bible every day. And all of these are amazing things, right? Like nobody's claiming that those aren't healthy and holy habits, but it's just throwing every ingredient at every person. And so it's like, well, what was that individual person's standard? What are they dreaming about? And what are they working toward? And so if I'm working toward maybe I'm working toward a homestead and I'm starting to put 10 habits that have nothing to do with homesteading in, then what am I doing? And then when I fail at those, why did I fail? Well, they weren't even what I wanted. They weren't making the meal that I actually envisioned. I love that analogy, Audie. That's beautiful. Jenny, what about you? Is there something that like anything that like kind of inspires you there that you want to share there, or we can move to like the next question.
Well, I would love to share something that's just really essential for me when I strive to achieve something or create something that I've never created before, whether it's a new routine or a new thing or whatever. It really starts with my own mindset. because we need to point our thoughts in the direction we want to go. And like before, I never even thought I could. Well, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Henry Ford said that, and it's just true. So I like to create scripts, new thoughts, powerful and positive thoughts that point me in the direction that I want to go. And so I also love to use scripture to make sure that I'm aligning my thoughts with God's word. And so like, for instance, I like to think I am becoming a decisive woman of action. That's what discipline means to me. Can I make the decision to take even a baby step of action, even if it's not every day, most days? Okay, yes, I can. Yes, I can. And then I say, I am making progress, being disciplined with, and then I fill in what I'm working towards. So this new year, I'm working towards working out more, because that's so helpful for training my body to push through the pain. I don't like working out, but it's also helping me recognize I can do hard things to make me both physically stronger and mentally stronger. I also love this phrase: today I can choose to, and then plug in your baby step of action. So today I can choose to set my workout clothes out. I can choose to go to bed on time. And tomorrow I'm going to choose to wake up on time so that I have time for 15 minutes worth of exercise, or an hour worth of exercise if I'm actually going to the gym. So it's just really thinking the thoughts that remind me that I believe I can do this. And actually, one of my favorites is a verse from Philippians chapter 4, verse 13. It says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. But if you take out the all things and you plug in your thing, so like, for instance, I can work out through Christ who strengthens me. I can be disciplined through Christ who strengthens me. That's my way I point my thoughts in a good direction with my mindset.
Two things. You talked about training and you talked about all things. I think that sometimes the reason we get really upset about, I need to be more disciplined, I need to be a more disciplined woman. One, we have a false definition of what discipline is, a false idea of it. And then two, you just described what our idea is, because scripture says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. But does it mean all things at all times? You know, and that's how we read it. We read it like, I can be everything to everyone. I can have my health perfect and my relationships perfect, and the meal is made and the house is clean and the children are happy. It's all done at all times through Christ. And that's being promoted on the internet. Like, a lot of times people will say, like, don't come to stuff like this, life coaching stuff and self-improvement stuff, because you just need Jesus. I'm like, well, hang on a second. Like, I really understanding God's word and fleshing that out in our life and seeing where it's been twisted is super helpful for me. And I've been twisting the word discipline to mean I can be all things all the time through Christ who strengthens me. And that's not what it says. And in fact, I looked up the definition of the biblical definition of discipline. And you know what it was? It was training. The biblical definition is discipline is training. So it's an active movement. Discipline, I think what I've been understanding it for the last 30 plus years, I won't say exactly how many, is that it's this arrival. Discipline is like, I got it. Audie, you mentioned your mom, and that's, and you know, that's a beautiful that it worked for her. But I imagine, like, even today, while we're launching this and we're hosting this thing, that all the laundry in there is just perfect and done, and that would make me disciplined. But that's not for me right now. That's not for me today. The laundry doesn't have to be done for me today. God's calling me to be here. And I'm training my mind and my heart and my spirit to be more like him. Discipline is in training. And that has been such a shift. I think it's a big part of this discussion. Audie, I hear you talking about the vision, and like your tip and your strategy has been to shift and really make sure you know the vision. And Jenny, yours is different. Yours is really about the mindset and speaking those truthful thoughts aligned with Christ for you. And I think honestly, if we had 8 other women in here, they would each need a different strategy to be a woman of discipline. And so that's really why we're breaking this whole season up into 10 episodes, because we're going to go into and spend a whole episode on what Jenny's talking about here with mindset, with scripting, with using scripture to reframe our thoughts, to help us believe in ourselves and believe what we can do. And then we'll spend a whole episode with Audie's vision, designing, like Audie, you said, you know, your meal wants to be good, but do you want it to be like spaghetti or a hot dog? Like, well, we know it wants to be good, but what do you really want? And if we don't figure that out, we're just throwing so many extra tasks on ourselves. And I don't think that we have any more room on our plates to do that. I don't. Thank you guys so much for joining this conversation. Ladies, do you have anything else you want to add? If not, we'll add it on the other side of the 30 minutes.
I would just encourage people to pick one area to focus on. It could be a simple, easy win, or it could be more of a hinge habit, like, whoa, if I can change this, my whole life's going to change. But to just make baby steps of progress instead of aiming for perfection, and to get yourself some accountability and support from people who are going to encourage you. And hopefully that's us in the Rising Tide Fellowship.
Thank you.
I agree with you, Jenny. Stop beating yourself up. That's my one thing. That's the one sentence. Create your vision, and the easiest way to stop beating yourself up is to change your standard.
Beautiful. Thank you, friends, for joining us today for Weekly Fellowship. We are about to transition to our live conversation with guests. So if you're joining us live, stick around for the next half of the show. Your presence here is truly cherished. If you've enjoyed today's conversation and want to dive deeper into our community of growth-minded women, I invite you to join the Rising Tide Fellowship. Visit risingtidefellowship.com to connect with like-minded souls, engage in enriching discussions, and discover the support you need for your journey. And for those of you seeking more personalized support, consider working with me, Reagan Clement, at reaganclementcoaching.com. As a faith-filled life coach, I am dedicated to helping you unlock your potential, embrace peace, and live life aligned with your God-given design. In today's show details, you'll find both links, so take a moment to explore the opportunities waiting for you. Before we part ways, remember that your voice matters to us. Share your insights, perspectives, and questions by joining the second half of our live conversation every Thursday at 12:30 p.m. Central Time. Thank you for being part of this incredible community. Subscribe, rate, and leave a review to help us reach more hearts. Visit risingtidefellowship.com for more. Until we meet again, take care, and may your week be filled with peace, purpose, and fulfillment. All right, ladies, you're welcome to take your mics off and turn your cameras on, and let's just engage a little bit here. So Jenny and Audie, thank you guys so much for just sharing your hearts and your stories. I think one of my biggest takeaways today was just how different each of us are, and how Jenny's strategy and choice would not necessarily work for me, and what works for me will not necessarily work for Audie. And it's just so important for us to really get that individualization of, like you said, Audie, the vision, the recipe. What was your biggest takeaway today?
I was gonna say definitely the same thing, Reagan. I love this group of us as three, because I do think our strategies are very similar, but at the same time very different. And so it's been such a unique experience to be able to share those. And I mean, just because something doesn't work for me doesn't mean I'm not harvesting from it. And so it's just been really good to hear little bits and pieces from all of us, I think.
I would love to hear, if one of you says, oh, I'm really strong and disciplined in this area, but I'm really struggling to grow in a different area. Like, just hearing about your life is so encouraging to me. I just want to zip it and listen to you, especially if you have any questions or, roadblocks that's what we're here for, is to help and serve you.
Yeah,
Hi,
and if you,
everyone.
oh yeah, hi.
Okay, so if I'm noisy, I'm in my mail truck, so let me be less noisy. Okay, so I had a conversation with my piano teacher the other day, and we were talking about something kind of similar, even though I didn't realize that's what we were talking about. But she works, she's worked her whole entire life with little children, and she has seen um, discipline from that level of trying to teach someone a completely different language,
Mm-hmm.
music, and how it actually takes practice and it takes training to make your fingers and your brain and your eye and your heart and your ears do all the things that it needs to do to be able to play piano. And you actually have to work through frustrations, and you actually have to work through um, not shaming yourself for not quite getting it, and then feeling the joy of, the next time you try again, the next time you go to practice, you got it. Oh my gosh. And I loved that feeling that we were talking about, because I'm kind of like a kindergartner taking piano, learning, the numbers on my fingers and things like that. But it's very, very similar to what life is like, and trying to build a routine or trying to build better habits. You literally have to give yourself grace, but you've got to keep at it. And you have to keep, you even have to go back and do the baby steps, and or do the elementary things, so that you can so that your brain can remember all those little connections that it was needing in order to take the next step forward. And so whenever y'all were talking, I was like, this sounds like piano.
I love that
Like
analogy.
learning music, because whenever it starts to come together, sometimes your little finger will hit the wrong key, and it'll be like, oh, yeah, that wasn't it. And then sometimes you're like, you surprise yourself at how wonderful you've done. And then whenever you go on to the next song, well, let's work on that one too. Let's get a little more
Yeah.
practice time in for that one too. So it's that conversation that I had with her was able to, I was able to, start thinking how amazing it is for her to have to see this in teaching her little ones and seeing their progress and getting. So can we treat ourselves the same way? Can
Mm-hmm.
we, talk about how amazing our brains are, and how little by little God lets us see what He made in us and how He created us, and just be in awe of His creation within ourselves. So that was my connection with what Jenny and Audie said, with the conversation I had with my piano teacher the other night.
Thank you, Amanda. I hear another side of yours too is think about the professional pianist who's been playing for years, and they are absolutely like think of someone who's just, I mean, they're at the top of their craft. They've totally mastered it, but they still get really frustrated when they're practicing new pieces, and they're never finished, right? They're never just like, oh, my skill is complete and there's nothing I have to ever try at. They're still working so hard and getting frustrated. And so for me, I heard you say something that was like, if I am the best pianist, I'm still trying hard at playing the piano every day. So if I am the most disciplined woman, that means I am still working at discipline every single day. It's not an arrival, just like the best in our art.
Absolutely, I love that too. I love that too, because that means that we still need God. We still need Him, to keep creating, to keep revealing ourselves to ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Does anybody else want to share or ask a question? Or maybe you're still feeling a little bit, maybe there's something you're pretty frustrated with in your own life and your own struggles with discipline. You're welcome to unmute and say it, or you can share in the chat. That second 30 minutes is all private, so it will be shared inside the Rising Tide Fellowship, but not to YouTube or to our podcast. So to make that very clear, this is private between just our community.
Hey
There
guys.
come the faces. Did that help, Christina, explaining that?
Oh, I mean, I guess it did subconsciously, but I was gonna pipe in anyway because I loved what you all and Amanda were just talking about, like and the light bulb kind of went off when you said, Reagan, or maybe it was you, Audye, I can't remember. Like, it's discipline is training. Like, it's not an arrival. You're never gonna get there. It's a choice you have to make every day, kind of like marriage is a choice. You have to make it like every day, right? To love your spouse. And I'm just reminded, I guess it's in Philippians, I don't know, the Bible verse, like we have to renew our minds every day. It's a constant thing. And I struggle with that. I guess more of I don't sit still well. So I have a really good like workout routine. I've been on it for like a year now. Christmas, I did not do my regular exercise routine. I drank too much caffeine, drank more alcohol than I usually do, and ate really bad. So I slept bad, and I could just tell all of my discipline. I threw it out the window, and it wreaked havoc on my mind, my body, like how I treated others. And it was just a big reminder to me, like, no, you do those things so you can show up to be the person you want to be. Like, you train so you can be the person that you want to be. So that hit me really hard over Christmas. Like, oh no, Christina, like you gotta get back to that.
I don't want to cut anybody off, but that's so true, Christina. And it reminds me of the choose your hard, choose your discipline. You know, do you want to suffer by being disciplined and making yourself a routine and getting to that workout and eating healthy, or do you want to suffer by the consequences of not doing it? And honestly, some of that just comes with age. You know, with age, you're like,
So
I
true.
don't want to feel that anymore. You
That
know?
is 100% true. Like, I can't not sleep anymore. There was a time in my life where I figured it out, but that's not a negotiable thing anymore. So
Yeah.
Christina, I put that verse from Romans 12:2 in the chat so that you have it.
awesome. Thank you, Jenny.
I just want to touch on the fact, Christina, like it's such self-awareness and you have the vision, right? And again, once you have that vision, like even when you do fall off, that's like I said before, the quickest way to jump back on is to say, you know what? I have the vision and I know where I'm going. And even though I fell back off of this, I'm not going to beat myself up over it. I'm just going to get back on the horse and we're going to keep going because this is who I want to be. And I love that I feel like it adds a level of confidence to the discipline. So it's not just I'm going through, I'm hanging on, I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing, but I know I'm doing this because this is exactly what I want.
Yes. That's the piece I think we miss so much because we're just going through life like, what's the next fire? Who's sick? And who needs this? And what do I have to do for work? And all the stuff that you forget what you wanted to do. Like you forget your vision for your family or for your business or whatever it is because you're just so stuck in the middle. Yeah, that is the thing. I love that, Audie.
I love the idea.
Okay.
Just real quick, I love this idea of I'm going to do it most days. Most days. Rather than I do it every day. Well, what if I miss a day? Oh, then I feel bad. No. I'm going to do it most days, which means as long as I'm doing it 4 days a week, that's most days.
I think that's how I have created this workout habit. Because I was like, no, it can't be every day. We can't do every day. And so I started with 3 days. And then I was like, I got 3 days. I can do 4 days. And now I'm kind of like sometimes 5 days. But I just tell myself, as long as it's, 3 or 4, then I'm doing what I need to do. My body's moving, it's getting the right things that it needs. And it feels so much better than to beat myself up over not meeting that goal that maybe wasn't attainable because of my life, because I have other things, right? Vision.
Something else that's really helpful is to little tricks of like, well, I can do it for 2 minutes.
Mhm.
I can do 2 minutes of cleaning in the kitchen before I go to bed at night. And that's what gets me in the kitchen. And then honestly, if I spent 5 minutes, I'd finish the whole thing. So I do. But it's easier to say, I'm just going to do a little teensy bit.
Yes,
I love that.
there's a book, it's on my bookshelf over there. It's Walking with Purpose. And she has like 6 kids, runs a business, and she was talking about how to like keep her house clean. And one of her tricks is she tells her kids to pick up 20 things. And because it has a start and a stop, like all the kids know what it means. Like there's a definitive amount of time for them to stop and do it. And it's easy for them just to like go around and do it. And shoes count as 2 things. So that it's those little like quick wins to get you going. I think that's really cool.
We do that over here, and my husband does not understand it. He's like, why not just have them clean? I'm like, they will, just say 20. They will. Jen or Pam, I want to make sure you have time to share or visit if you want to.
Not really. Today's been kind of a crazy day for me. I'm still stuck at home with all of my children. School starts again on Monday and I can't wait. So I'm just gonna sip my coffee and listen to you ladies. I think you have great. I've heard like a lot of like that 20 thing, like pick up 20 things. Like I'm gonna adapt that. That's pretty cool. So yeah, we're just surviving right now. So good afternoon, ladies.
Totally. We've been there, Jen. We've been there. Beautiful. Something else you said, Christina, if we go back to that, you said, I always do that and then I lose it. It's gone. Just let it go, Reagan. Once you've moved on, it's gone from the brain.
It'll come back.
Pam, how about you? How are you doing? Are you taking on any renewed or new disciplines this year?
I'm just still trying to get on a routine, but I love, I'm just taking everything in. Everybody has so many great things to say that will just really help me with my mindset. But I'm getting there. I'm studying myself grace, but I don't want to grace myself out of it either too much. So I like the most days. I like that a lot. That gives me a little bit of grace, but not too much grace.
Well, Pam, something I just thought of when you were speaking is how my daughter, who's in 7th grade, joined a dance team for the first time this year. And she's never been on a dance team, and learning these routines, there's a lot of steps. But the coach is really strategic, and she'll only teach a tiny portion at a time so that these girls can practice it and practice it and practice it, and then they get good. And then she adds a few more steps. So if you're looking to get your routine down, just pick a few areas to focus on, and then you can build upon it when the foundation is solid.
Hey, Jenny, so how do you do that? Like, how do you pick what you want your routine? Like, I'm not really necessarily a morning person. My children make me a morning person, but like, I don't want to wake up at 5:30 in the morning and do a workout. I just don't want to do that. And then I don't necessarily want to read my Bible at 5:30 in the morning either, because that's my only time of peace. Like, but how do you like pick out the things you want for your routine to be? Like, what do you do?
Okay. It takes seasons. Okay. It just takes a season, because the first idea is like, oh, this beautiful vision. And then I just like, it lives in my mind for like 6 months. And then I'm like, okay. What could I do? What could I start with? And then I like think about it, and I'm like, well, maybe I'll try it, and then I implement like one thing. But I've been on this personal journey of growth for like almost 4 years now, really intentionally. So it builds, it stacks. And I'm like, it's working, but it's really, but just like Reagan said, Jen, it's very individual. So I want you to start like with what Audie said, cast a vision for what is something that you desire, you want, and maybe think about like what would be the most hinge habit. You know, a door swings on a hinge. So if you changed that one thing, it would really have an impact and open doors for the rest of your areas of your life. And then think, well, what could I do to work towards that? You know, like my husband really struggles with his sleep, like big time. Going to bed on time was never a thing ever in his life, period. So it's like, okay, well, what is one little thing he could do? It's to get a range. Well, I'd like to be in bed between this time and this time. And what do I need to do before then to settle my mind and my body? Okay, it's these kind of things. So there's like a buffer. You know, it's like when I say buffer, I don't mean like buffering activities, but he gives himself a range and says, this is what I'm going to strive for, and I'm going to move in that direction. And think about this. If you even change 1 or 2 degrees a week later, a month later, 6 months later, you're in a much different spot than where you would have been if you hadn't changed even a little tiny thing. So give it time and give yourself grace, like Pam said. Gosh, there's so much wisdom in this room. I hope that's helpful, Jennifer, for you.
Yeah, I think I probably just need to sit down and be like, okay, what do I want my each day to look like? I guess I don't know. The task just seems really daunting right now. Maybe I should wait till the kids go back to school. I don't know.
I
I don't
would.
know. We'll see.
I
Yeah.
think you're right on the money. You know, you're like, I'm in the thick of it. Now's not the time. You're right on the money. And I too, something that, because I coach people on routines a lot, and something that everybody does when they go and do that task, and they sit down and they write it all out, they start adding like 100 things to their plate. It's insane. Like so something that I always, that helps me a lot is getting anchor points. What are the things in your day that never change? Where's your breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Where's your toothbrush? Where's your bath or shower? Like, stick those on there and let them be anchors. And then other things can fluctuate, and you can make a choice to add maybe one new thing in. But I would just look at like, how can I start seeing these anchors as this really consistent flow for my day, and then I can get more creative between those anchors. Because just having anchor points is a routine. It is. It's like, we don't have to have the Instagram's version of a morning routine to be awesome. Like, your routine could totally say like, rise, sit in peace. What's your, you know, like, it doesn't have to have the Bible first thing in the morning. It sounds like you're like, I need peace. Okay, cool. No shame.
And then once it's anchored and you decide, well, I think I'd like to add this little thing in. How can you couple it with something you already do? You know, like for my daughter, I wanted her to work with some scripts and she was fighting me on it, but I decided I was going to pin them up on the bathroom mirror. So as she's brushing her teeth, what else do you do when you brush your teeth? She reads her scripts. And it's like, oh, well, that's something I'm already doing. It's not extra, it's just right there.
Okay, so with that, all of that came, I love to drink coffee in bed. So I think maybe I can wake up at 5:45, maybe, I don't know, and drink coffee in bed, and that will be my peace. And maybe then I will be able to face the day.
I love that. Yes. And I don't know. It's not that you're hearing this, but this is something that I would hear sometimes. It's like, if I don't do the hard routine, then like Jesus doesn't love me, or I'm not doing enough, or he's not going to bless me. And like, I just think, how happy is Jesus going to smile with you when you get back and snuggle in those sheets and enjoy your coffee, and like pour into others the rest of the day on that joy. Like, there's just, I don't know. That makes me smile, like, for him, for you.
Yeah, Jordan started doing that on the weekends, like just on Saturdays, and then I'm like, maybe I should do that every day. That would be nice. You want to say hi?
Nope. I was coached by Anna Saucier, a few months ago on this. It's been a while now. On Pam, what you said about too much grace, because I use that same verbiage, and for me, it was watching TV when I feel anxious before bed. I'm a lot like Jenny's husband, and I sometimes get anxiety before bed. And so I set these goals to read before bed and to find calm and then fall asleep reading. And then sometimes when life throws some drama in there, or a family member gets ugly or something like that, it'll cause me some like racing thoughts at night, and I'll want to buffer with like a relaxing show. And I was beating myself up. I'm like, that's too much grace. You're giving yourself too much grace, Reagan. Like, get in bed, read a book, get in bed, get over it. Like, you're giving yourself. And Anna challenged me on that. She's like, what is too much grace? What are you really saying there? So I was trying to argue back and really defend what I was saying. And too much grace, too much compassion. Like, if compassion comes from the Lord, if grace is from God, too much grace. And so she really challenged me to drop that concept and just go like, what if God says, go ahead and buffer tonight, Reagan, you can watch a TV show. And so once I just tried, I was really scared, actually. I was like, oh no, I'm going to be watching like 10 hours now. I'm going to drop my grace, and be so compassionate on myself. And I'm going to turn into this like monster TV watcher. All it did was take the edge off. That's all it did. It just took the like fear out. And so the last few nights I've been feeling it. And I'm like, I have the freedom to watch TV. I'm not sinning if I watch TV. It's not too much grace, but I think I'll just try to read a book instead. And if I want to go back to the TV, I have total freedom to. And it actually makes me better. It just takes the like stress off of it. Does that make sense? So
I've done that. I've done that a few times too. And I will say, I do find that even when I think there's no way, like if I do buffer or just give myself a little grace to not follow through with something right away or during my routine time, I just feel like things come together so much more easier most of the time. It's like, how long did I get this done? And I think it's because I just filled myself up. I took a rest, maybe sometimes all I needed was just resting. And it was just like, thank you, God. Like, I know I did this like with you. Yeah, like I can do all things through him. When I allow him to work too in my situation as well, when I give myself the grace that he probably does want to give me, because maybe I have that personality to tend to put too much on me sometimes too.
Don't we all? In this circle, not in every circle, but in this circle, we're pretty much there. This was so lovely. Does anybody have anything else question or something to add? Okay, well, we'll be back next week, and next week is specifically on vision. So kind of what Audye was talking about, creating that dream. Kind of, Jen, what you're talking about like really like, what do I want? And I know we kind of answered it today with the morning, and that's so good. Sometimes like with your whole day, like, what do I want my day to look like, or and Christina, you hit it too, of like, we get so caught up in the day-to-day that we never plan the day-to-day. We never design the day-to-day. And so then it doesn't change. And we're just kind of like a hamster in a wheel, because we never pulled back and went, wait, I'm going to stop, get off the wheel, and maybe move over here. So that's what we're going to do next week. It's really hit on vision, and then aligning your goals and your habits and all of those, your disciplines have to be aligned with your vision, right? And so we'll go through that next week. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Audye. Thank you, Jenny. All right. Bye, ladies.
Oh, and Bible study starts next Monday. So
oh yeah,
8:30 Central Standard Time. It's only a half hour, and it's a lovely conversation. No prep, no primp is needed. Just come or listen in, or whatever you want to do. So the verse is already posted. Hopefully I'll see you then.
thank you, Jenny.
Bye.
Bye.